3 years ago, I think it was 3 years ago, when I thought I was going to lose my sight, and I went into hospital to get it sorted out. I took a sketchbook in, which seemed stupid when I was lying in the bed with a patch on my eye, but it made me realise the kind of rubbish I carry around with me, where you start thinking about, oh, Foz is the person who does the big paint or the bits of collage, and you realise all this stuff you limit yourself with. And I just thought, this is nothing. If I get out of this with my eyes intact, I'm just going to do whatever I want. And if I want to draw toys or comic books, I don't care. And it kind of got rid of my baggage in a way, and it rekindled my love of making work, and it made me open my eyes again to potentials, things like what surrounded me, things like toys, things like popular culture, stuff which is kind of overlooked really. It's just every day, and it's, for anyone who's got kids, they know what their house is like. It's just this mound of plastic. They've just crud, It's like, I'll go into college and be given a leg, and all of a sudden I'll have a conker and be like, what's that conker doing here? Or it'll be a dummy when the kids were younger, or I'll have a bit of chunder on me lapel or something, and it's just, that's my existence, and that's all I can really talk about. It's stuff the kids bring on. It's kind of, it reminds you of how fun it is to make work. You get it kind of in perspective. It's just like everything flinches and kind of, it's like a kid.
Yeah.
The stuff they bring on from school, and it's just like, it's just great. I think it all just get too serious too soon, and it all becomes really important. Just like kids painting cups. It's fantastic. It's beautiful things, and it's just like you pick it up and it makes you feel alright. It's just stuff like that. It's kind of changed my head a lot, actually.
So Frankie's how old is he? 9,
Frankie's
10?
9.
He's 9 now, and Bonnie's 5.
Good, nearly 5.
Nearly 5. So doing stuff with them, that must have really reinvigorated.
Well, it reminded me of what I used to like.
Yeah.
In a way, it's kind of, it stops. I think there was a time where it became a career and a job, as much as it's ever going to do for me. But I'd lost I suppose I lost the soul of doing it. I'd lost the love of doing it, not love of what I do, but the actual love of making. I'd forgotten. It'd become too about proving something or fulfilling kind of what I think I should be doing. The kids have reminded me just about, it's fun. It's quite simple, and we forget it. We get all the other shite in the way. We get mortgages and bills and our professional profile and all that rubbish, which it's sort of important, but it's not as important as enjoyment or appreciating just like, I can do that.
I've noticed when we came into the house and the lovely pictures that Bonnie and Frankie have done along your stairwell. Should we like to show us some of those?
Yeah, I think what's interesting as well is I think you reflect upon the place you lived when you were a kid.
Yeah.
So we didn't have pictures in our house. It might have the odd horse print or something, or a constable, or a picture of the airway or something. But it was like, which is fine. But it's like, I think now the kids have got, every bloody wall's got like a picture on it. I see them as almost having friends around for tea almost. You've got a bit of a Blaise Thompson and Russell Coleman, just having your friends. I just see them as having your friends around for tea. I shouldn't have tidied up, it reflected more of the world we live in. So this is kind of, I just find these kind of spaces, if I'm ever lost for thoughts, I just come in these spaces and just have a look around, and there's so many brilliant things. Just just things like that. Half dying child in a high chair. It's great, and it's just funny. I think you train yourself to open your eyes to the possibilities. You start saying, well, actually, that isn't just my daughter's toys. They're a series of characters. Is there a colour combination? Is there there's a scale difference. Oh, one's hard, one's soft, and you start looking at it. You start breaking down what exists in front of you. You don't just see there was a fantastic documentary on Hockney over summer where he was talking about, he was on the way to somewhere in Yorkshire and it started raining, and he said, "Oh look, it's raining. Look at how beautifully purple the road is." And he was just celebrating the fact he saw it's purple. Everyone else just gets pissing down. And I think that's it. I think it's literally someone going, I'm trained in a way, or I've trained my head to think like this. So I don't just see Woody hanging on the shelf. I actually see that as a character who represents this, this and this. And he's quite wobbly, he's quite fragile. You know, and you actually don't just see what the... And I think that's an incredible privilege. All this came at the... I just got this idea at the end of the last show. I was drawing a lot of lice. I was drawing a lot of toys. I was drawing a lot of family reference. And I had this thought of... I wanted to cover things with lace. It goes back to the underwear thing. It goes back to...
What's the underwear thing?
My fetish. And it comes from my swimming days of transparent fabric, unfortunately. I would like to say not, but that is my reality. And I started drawing a lot of flat lace. I did a lot of research. I went to the V&A and did a lot of things, which was just covering... There's a room in the V&A which just... It's the history of lace, and I just used to go and draw there. I used to just draw the things which I was inspired by and then cover them with stuff. It can go from just my favourite flowers, daffodils, to people, to films, to little extracts, bits of the Wizard of Oz, and I just go and just draw there. It was me and the security guard.
So how important is this process in regards to building up a pattern and a flow for your work?
Crucial. It informs me. It inspires me, and it's just a part of the privilege. Actually, I've always been better when I draw. I can think clearer. I'm not very good at thinking outside of drawing, and I need to make to think in a way. It helps me. It clarifies my world, and it allows me to kind of breathe, and I feel relaxed. But
you've always talked on that level, haven't
yeah.
you? That it's if you're not doing it, it's your medicine, your daily medicine.
Yeah, I do see it is part therapy for me. I do understand it as that, but I don't see it as a crisis therapy. I see it as just a vital part of my existence. It's something which excites me, and I think the day that it stops exciting me, I'll stop doing it. I like visual surprise. I don't want to know what's coming out. There's a certain level of planning which goes in further down the line, but there's a certain thing about something being organic and intuitive, and you learning as you're doing. If I know what's coming to me, I get bored. I suppose the other side of it is I've always been interested in pictures, really, really simple. Yeah. Going back from the great Tony Art, I suppose. Yeah. Then, turn the lights down, put it on the turntable and off you go, Bob's your uncle. And it's that, I've always been fascinated by that. And I suppose as things progressed, then it became more focused, where I was interested in something to say. That's always been the case. I've always been interested in people who've got something to say. I don't like passivity. I hate people who sit on the fence. It really irritates me. I like people who've got something to say about something. But what has changed was when I got to art school, I realised that I really just like that physicality of making something. There's something in doing that really exciting me, and I only discovered it when I was doing my dissertation. I was so bored and I was hopeless at writing, and I started doing these terrible abstract paintings, and people were laughing at them. They really were bad, and I don't think even that could have been resurrected on the turntable with Tony Hart. But it was just something in that which was liberating. I realised that had to be part of what I did, and then when I was doing my postgrad, I discovered that I needed some level of control which could actually allow me to speak to other people a little bit clearer. And I suppose it was harnessing them two things. It's using, I mean, again, I've just said a couple of sentences which took me about 8 or 9 years to suss out in my head, where it was that marrying of a graphic thought and kind of an expressionistic approach to painting, I suppose. I've always been trying to marry them, or certainly for the last 15 years I have anyway. I'm interested in things which are transparent, and you see other things within things, like X-ray, or it's seen through something. So that was the starting point of it, and then it became more to do with lace, which I was kind of fascinated by, seeing a bit of something through something else, and then it was also purely on a lust level, seeing people flash, I suppose. And there's a bit of that. It's a bit of a combination.
The big piece you can have in the show,
yeah,
started out as The Last Supper.
It was inspired by The Last Supper. It took a long time to get into focus in my brain. Maybe that's just me being a bit slow. I knew I wanted something to do with a family specifically, and I wanted something which was very everyday as a setting, and I wanted something which was somehow represented a focus point of a family. You know, we all eat, we all sit down and chat, and for me, the meal table's the table where everything happens: laughter, sadness, rows, breakdowns, the full gamut really. It just exists, and then I started looking at The Last Supper in response to just it being a mealtime. I just started looking at mealtime pictures almost, and obviously the connection with the Bible became evident again. But what it was more to do with the table rather than The Last Supper. The Last Supper was almost a spark, but it wasn't what it became, because it's got really nothing to do with that in the end. It was just the starting point. I wanted to represent a conflict over a mealtime, but I wanted the conflict to feel like it was an enjoyable conflict. It wasn't a terrible conflict. It wasn't It was based on that thing where, you know, family life is based on conflict in a good way. It's an abrasions. I can't. My English isn't good enough but it's like it's a meeting of stuff, and some of it's happy, some of it's not. But there's a kind of rubbing of stuff together, and I wanted to kind of somehow represent a tension, but which was actually very playful. And so you've got lots of different soldiers from different wars, from different things. But it's at the end of it, it's these little toys. So it's not a depression conflict in a way. It's actually something which is saying, well, it's all right. The conflict is actually quite a good thing, in a way. It's not a dead end. So, in terms of idea development, I knew that the idea of a mealtime thing was in my head, but I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was trying to get rid of how I worked as well. I wanted to change how I worked. I thought it was too restrictive to me. So I was just literally picking up anything which I had around to try to understand what on earth I was even thinking about. how certain characters would begin to represent certain people, all over the place. But and there's this kind of quote here: "Bind us together, Lord, bind us together." A lot of my stuff's based on hymns. Death does not separate. So this was in a very early, not with any big ideas, just at its beginning. Then I also started looking at family photographs. Some of these things, just of meal times, just very happy memories. Granddad, more recent stuff, kids, and there's just lots of these things where just meal times. Then I started looking at just general how I think it's partly just becoming a parent where you realise history is repeating itself. So I just started collaging photographs together. So this is me, this is Frankie on the swings, that's my mum, that's my mum.